Chapter 2347. And now there was no movement in the inscription tower, which confirmed his guess. The light at the entrance to the 7th floor was incomparably powerful, and even he was severely injured. Not to mention that when the president wanted to enter, he was almost seriously injured and had to recuperate for countless years. If it wasn't for this, how could this inscription tower have landed in this heavenly wind inscription city? Now that there was no movement in the inscription tower, it was obvious that this was because Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng had both died in the light at the entrance to the 7th floor. He could escape from the light at the entrance by luck, but the other party couldn't. Especially since all of the other party's abilities and sources of comprehension came from the inscription tower. Thinking of this, Master Chen laughed complacently. He felt relieved. Tianfeng Inscription City Lord, there's no movement in the inscription tower. The two of them have already died in the inscription tower. The battle for the Tianfeng Inscription Tower has ended with the victory of our Lengyu Inscription City. The Tianfeng Inscription Tower is ours. He proudly said to the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others. The latter and the others had yet to recover from his words. Hearing his words, the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's vision instantly darkened. He looked at him in disbelief and said, What did you say? Qing'er they have already completely died at the entrance to the 7th floor. Master Chen laughed coldly. You people from Tianfeng Inscription City own the inscription tower, so you should naturally know what the 7th floor of the inscription tower represents, right? He said shamelessly. After the two of them threw me out of the inscription tower, they overestimated themselves and wanted to force their way into the 7th floor. Now you can see the result. There's no movement in the inscription tower. They're already dead. When the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others heard this, it was as if they were struck by lightning. They had yet to recover from the shock of Song Cheng and Luo Qingtong having extremely strong talent, especially Luo Qingtong being a spirit seal master, when they heard Master Chen say that they had already died in the inscription tower. Everyone wanted to suspect that Master Chen was lying. However, if what the other party said was false, now that Master Chen had been thrown out, they should have joined forces to come out. However, there was no movement from the inscription tower. Not only that, he didn't even see the light of Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng being knocked out of the inscription tower. It was very obvious that Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng might really have died in the inscription tower just as Master Chen had said. Junior apprentice Brother Cheng and the others will definitely not force their way into the 7th floor of the inscription tower after injuring you. An inscription master from the Heavenly Wind Inscription City looked at Master Chen with tears in his eyes. He is going to seize the pagoda for our Heavenly Wind Inscription City? You would never disregard the bigger picture. It's you? You must have used some underhanded trick on it. They had no choice but to collide with the light at the entrance to the 7th floor. The inscription master from the Sky Wind Inscription City glared at Master Chen. The people around him, including the City Lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City, were also awakened by his words and glared at Master Chen and the others. So what? Master Chen wasn't worried that his lie had been exposed. He looked coldly at the people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City and said, No matter what, I was the last one to leave the tower. The winner is the people from Lengyu Inscription City. Chapter 2348. When his voice rang out, the people of Tianfeng Inscription City finally came back to their senses. A high-level inscription master from Heavenly Wind Inscription City took a deep breath, and then he shouted loudly, Wait! Our Tianfeng Inscription City has indeed lost to the inscription tower. But what about the bet that Lengyu Inscription City Lord made with us? Everyone's hearts were filled with grief. However, this wasn't the time to be sad and despair. Although Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng didn't return alive and were ambushed by the people of Lengyu Inscription City and seized the Tianfeng Inscription Tower. However, because they had made a bet with Lengyu Inscription City Lord, they had won the last chance of survival for the people of Tianfeng Inscription City. The senior inscription master from Tianfeng Inscription City suppressed the grief in his heart and said coldly, According to the contents of the bet, our junior brother Cheng won against Lengyu Inscription City Lord. There shouldn't be a problem, right? When his voice rang out, the group of people from Tianfeng Inscription City recovered from their grief and looked at Master Chen and the others. That's right. Although our people from Tianfeng Inscription City lost the inscription tower, Lengyu Inscription City Lord and the others also lost the bet. And among them you are included. Tianfeng Inscription City Lord recovered from his grief and said coldly to Master Chen, I wonder what you are going to do. When the words of Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others came out, Master Chen's face instantly turned ugly. Only now did he remember that Lengyu Inscription City Lord, that idiot, had agreed to the bet with Song Cheng and the others before fighting for the tower. Originally, this bet, in his opinion, was no different from Song Cheng and the others sending themselves to their doorstep. In his heart he was also willing to accept this bet. In the end, who would have thought that Song Cheng and his disciple would be so abnormal? Forget about that Xie Qi who was an inscription genius from who knows where. But that Song Cheng, how did he raise his inscription talent to such a high level? Pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. He was actually tricked by them. He looked at Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others with an ugly expression. If he denied that he was a member of Lengyu City at this moment, then the Inscription Tower battle this time would lose its effectiveness. Since he wasn't a member of Lengyu Inscription City, he naturally couldn't represent the people of Lengyu Inscription City to seize the ownership of the Inscription Tower. However, if he was from Cold Jade Inscription City, then he would have to fulfill his bet with Song City. If Cold Jade Inscription City Lord lost the bet, then he would have to cripple his own inscription ability. These people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City really knew how to grab hold of information. Damn it. When Master Chen looked at Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others with an ugly expression, the latter also looked at him with a cold and determined expression. Master Chen, what do you think? Please give me your answer. Either the other party would give up the ownership of the Inscription Tower, or they would cripple their own inscription skills. It all depended on the other party's choice. When they thought about how this was an opportunity that Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng had created for them, the group of people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City burst into tears. They couldn't hold it in at all. Master Chen, what do you think? The group of people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City asked in unison. And the group of people from Lengyu Inscription City couldn't bear it at all. They looked at Master Chen. Especially Lengyu Inscription City Lord, his body was trembling violently. Chapter 2349. When he was knocked out of the tower, he didn't think of the bet. Now that the people of Tianfeng Inscription City had pointed it out, he instantly shuddered. One had to know that he had bet his life with the people of Tianfeng Inscription City. At most, the other people in Lengyu Inscription City didn't have the strength of inscriptions. But he had to pay with his life. When Lengyu Inscription City Lord thought of this, he was about to cry. He regretted his actions to the extreme. Why did he have such a cheap mouth before? Why did he have to bet with that poor bastard Song Chen? This time the other party was pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. He had hidden his strength and tricked him. Lengyu Inscription City Lord suspected that Song Cheng was purposely scaring them when he said that he was going to use that formation to find his disciple. Otherwise, how could the inscription man-searching formation go wrong? It was obvious that Song Cheng and the others wanted to lower their guard. In the end, in this battle for the tower, they wanted him to make a bet with them because he was complacent and confident. Damn it, they were too sinister. They were too shameless. When Lengyu Inscription City Lord thought of this, he couldn't even cry anymore. He trembled as he begged Master Chin, Master Chin? Why don't we? Let's forget about it? Before he could finish his sentence, Master Chen's face darkened and he slapped him across the face, sending him flying. Shut up. Master Chen's face was gloomy. If it wasn't for this idiot, how could he be forced to such a state by the people of Tianfeng Inscription City? Master Chen didn't mention that he also agreed to this bet. He said coldly to Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others, "We will naturally accept this bet." Just as he finished speaking, Lengyu Inscription City Lord, whose face was swollen and half of his teeth had fallen out, shook his head like a madman. He wanted to stand up and rush over to deny Master Chen's words. However, the latter's powerful aura enveloped him and instantly froze him on the spot. You people of Tianfeng Inscription City, get ready. Tomorrow we will come and take over the Inscription Tower. At that time, the people of our Cold Jade Inscription City will naturally fulfill the bet. As he spoke, he glanced at Lengyu Inscription City Lord. Then he led Lengyu Inscription City Lord and the others out of the inscription square. As for Lengyu, the City Lord and the others, after receiving the signal from his eyes, also hesitated and calmed down. Following him, they stammered and left. Master. Lengyu uncovered his swollen face and said to him hesitantly, "We won't really fulfill the bet, right?" If it weren't for Master Chen's warning look, he would have fought with his life on the line. Naturally, the City Lord of Cold Jade Inscription City was not willing to take the Inscription Tower. Instead, he wanted his own life. As for the other people from Cold Jade Inscription City, they naturally didn't want to lose their inscription power. They didn't want the inscription tower as much as Master Chen did. After all, even if he couldn't get it this time, there would be another chance. However, that was not the case for Master Chen. Luo Qingtong's appearance caused his heart to be filled with vigilance. He suspected that his actions had already been discovered by someone. If that was the case, then he definitely couldn't miss this opportunity to obtain the inscription tower. Because if he had to wait for another 10 years, he would lose his patience. He had to obtain the item on the 7th level. Of course not. Chapter 2350. After killing the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord and the others, let's see who would dare to propose the matter of fulfilling the bet with them. Without the person who signed the bet with them, this bet would be useless, right? That Master Chen sneered. Leng Yu and the others were overjoyed when they heard this. That's right, why didn't they think of such a method? Master Chen is wise. After we return, we will immediately make the arrangements, he said with a proud and high-spirited expression. With a chance to live and obtain the inscription tower, why wouldn't Leng Yu Inscription City Lord do it? Furthermore, at this time, Leng Yu Inscription City Lord could also sense something. Master Chen came to their Leng Yu Inscription City this time to help them obtain the inscription tower of the Heavenly Wind Inscription City. It was definitely not for the battle inscription mark of the peak of the human martial realm that he mentioned before. Wasn't this a very simple matter? Master Chen was clearly not only a beginner spirit seal master, but also an even more powerful inscription master. He didn't know if he was an Earth-level spirit seal master or a Heaven-level spirit seal master. Not only that, he was also a battle spirit master. Since that was the case, what else was worth coveting for the battle inscription mark of the peak of the human martial realm? The only thing that could make him covet it was something else in the inscription tower, right? Thinking of this, Leng Yu Inscription City Lord's heart skipped a beat. He thought of the 7th floor of the inscription tower in the Heavenly Wind Inscription City. It was said that the 7th floor was extremely mysterious. When the people of the Heavenly Wind Inscription City obtained this inscription tower, they had once mentioned that even the president of the Inscription Association couldn't enter the 7th floor. They told the inscriptionists who entered to cultivate and improve themselves not to touch the 7th floor. And because the 6th floor of the inscription tower was something that only those who were about to break through to the Spirit Seal Master realm could barely touch, no one paid special attention to the 7th floor. As for Leng Yu Inscription City Lord and the others, they just listened and didn't pay special attention to it. Now that he thought that this Master Chen might have other motives, he immediately thought of this matter. In an instant, his heart was fiercely shocked. However, Leng Yu Inscription City Lord didn't dare to say a word. So what if he saw through Master Chen's intentions weren't simple? The things on the 7th floor had nothing to do with them. If even the president of the Federation of Trade Unions couldn't obtain it, then there was no need for people like them to even think about it. Whatever Master Chen wanted to do was none of their business. They only needed to obtain the inscription tower. Thinking about this, Leng Yu Inscription City Lord became happy again. The group of people rushed back to the place where they were staying. In the inscription plaza, the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City gritted their teeth as they watched Leng Yu and the others leave. Master. An inscription master from Sky Wind Inscription City covered his wound and said to Sky Wind Inscription City Lord, Leng Yu Inscription City's people must be up to no good. That Master Chen said that they will come tomorrow to take the inscription tower and fulfill the bet. I'm afraid, before he could finish his words, the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord had already dejectedly shook his head and said, I know what you mean. As he spoke, he sighed heavily and said, but our Heavenly Wind Inscription City has no other choice. The Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's words were filled with sadness. While Song Qing was looking left and right, Luo Qingtong's gaze was fixed on a certain spot in the inscription tower. She had a feeling that the thing that had been faintly attracting her when she entered the inscription tower was right there. Could that be what Master Chen was looking for? Luo Qingtong frowned slightly. She looked at the scene around her and wasn't sure if she should go over and take a look. After all, the space on the 7th floor was too strange. No one knew what was going to happen or what kind of danger was waiting for them. On the empty ground there was a huge stone tablet. The runes on the stone steel seemed to be alive as they swam about on the surface of the stone steel. They were dazzling and golden in color. And Song Cheng was right under the golden stone tablet. The golden runes swam about on the stone tablet and projected their own light downwards. The light enveloped Song Cheng's body and covered him in a layer of golden light. Seeing this scene, Little Pig's eyes instantly widened. His mouth formed an O shape as he exclaimed, F***CK. That old man Tianmingzi, did he really put this thing here? Chapter 2353. When Little Pig spoke, Luo Qingtong looked at him and asked, "Do you know what this is?" She looked at the golden stone tablet and Song Cheng, who was wrapped in a large cocoon, and her eyes narrowed. The golden light didn't seem to cause any harm to Song Cheng. Therefore, when Luo Qingtong arrived, she didn't have any intention of pulling Song Cheng out. When she looked at the golden light, she could vaguely feel a boundless and majestic aura coming from it. Even if there was only a trace of this aura in the golden light, it made her feel as if she was facing the universe. "This is..." Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. At this moment, Little Pig jumped up and said, "Of course I know. You should know too." Little Pig suddenly exclaimed and said to Luo Qingtong, "I forgot that after you left the Tianyu Empire, you never entered the 9-story exquisite pagoda again. Did you notice that this inscription pagoda is similar to the 9-story exquisite pagoda? You forgot that your inscription technique was cultivated in the 9-story exquisite pagoda." Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows when she heard Little Pig's voice. Little Pig was right. When she first learned the theory of inscription technique from Song Cheng, she spent most of her time cultivating in the 9-story exquisite pagoda. The second floor of the 9-story exquisite pagoda had the ability to slow down time. At the same time, she could use the power of the 9-story exquisite pagoda to carve inscription marks in the air. This allowed her to carve and inscribe again and again, allowing her to master the most basic inscription technique. When Luo Qingtong thought of this, her thoughts suddenly stopped. Inscription pagoda. 9-story exquisite pagoda? She looked at Little Pig. When Little Pig saw that she seemed to have understood, he immediately jumped up and said to her, "Look at you. Do you remember now? This inscription pagoda is a replica of the 9-story exquisite pagoda. It doesn't have the ability to slow down time like the 9-story exquisite pagoda, but this engraving technique that can turn the pressure of the inscription pagoda into power is a replica of the 9-story exquisite pagoda. No wonder I always felt strange when I entered this place. Check carefully. See if the place in your heart that resonates with the inscription pagoda is from the 9-story exquisite pagoda." When Little Pig's words came out, Luo Qingtong's mind immediately looked at the 9-story exquisite pagoda in her sea of her mind. Sure enough, he saw it spinning around in his sea of consciousness. No wonder she sensed a familiar aura the moment she entered the inscription tower. At that time, the pagoda, the 9-story exquisite pagoda. After all, who would have thought that this inscription tower was actually an imitation of the 9-layer exquisite pagoda? Was to the pagoda, the 9-story pagoda was exquisite pagoda. Chapter 2354. Look at the golden runes on the stone tablet. Don't they have a boundless aura of the great Tao? This aura is comparable to the heavenly Tao. No wonder no one can break through to the 7th floor. This must be the weird way that old man Tianmingzi came up with to enter. What a bad taste. Little Pig muttered in his heart as he spoke. That old man Tianmingzi really knew how to play games. The 7th floor had the aura of the divine inscription. No wonder even the president of the Central Inscription Association couldn't enter and was almost seriously injured. With the aura of the great Tao inscription, who could force their way in? Perhaps only Luo Qingtong, who possessed the genuine aura of the 9-fold exquisite pagoda, could do it. Little Pig could imagine that if Song Cheng hadn't accidentally entered the inscription tower, Luo Qingtong would have been suppressed to a certain extent by the aura of the 7th floor's entrance, and the 9-fold exquisite pagoda would have rushed out to protect its owner. At that time, once the aura appeared, the entrance to the 7th floor would have opened for Luo Qingtong. As Little Pig spoke, Luo Qingtong immediately raised her head to look at Song Cheng and asked, "What's going on with him now?" "What's going on? Of course, it's to refine his inscription talent. He's lucky." Little Pig looked at Song Cheng, who was enveloped by the golden stone tablet, and said, "Who would have thought that Song Cheng, a person with 0 inscription talent, would be brought to the 6th floor of the inscription tower by Luo Qingtong's inscription talent sharing. After that, he accidentally entered the 7th floor. After all, the defense of the 7th floor was only set up for inscription masters with inscription talent. Who would have thought that Song Cheng, a person with no inscription talent, would be able to enter? And the hiding place of the inscription of God, even if it only contained a trace of aura for an inscription master, it was a great opportunity. One had to know that before obtaining the divine inscription, Tianmingzi and the others couldn't create a divine inscription weapon. After obtaining the divine inscriptions, they comprehended them day and night and created the life and death duality sword, a weapon of the great Tao. It could be said to be a semi-divine artifact. Wasn't it because they were enveloped and enhanced by the gods' inscriptions? Their inscription talent had been raised to the extreme, and their own inscription strength had broken through again and again? If it weren't for that accident, it would have been impossible for the people of Sky Ming Palace to be destroyed. That's right, the true name of the Immortal Slayer Palace was the Sky Ming Palace. Bearing heaven's fortune, carving inscriptions. Luo Qingtong used to think that the name Immortal Slayer Palace was too vicious. She didn't know that the Sky Ming Palace used to be so arrogant and unbridled. The #1 sect in the world. This was the fame and prestige of Sky Engraving Palace in the endless starry skies. It was a pity that it had turned into smoke and no longer existed. When Luo Qingtong heard Little Pig's words, she immediately raised her eyebrows. So you're saying that these golden runes are the divine inscriptions? Luo Qingtong looked at the golden characters on the steel. Yes and no. Little Pig scratched his head and said, I don't know the details. I heard some of it when that old man Tianmingzi was nagging in the underground palace. In any case, the Immortal Slayer Palace was destroyed because of the divine inscription. It was that stinky old man Tianmingzi who escaped. But before they were destroyed, they seemed to have transferred the divine inscription away. The ones here should be a small part of it, Little Pig said. If only this inscription tower had traces of divine inscriptions. Then if Song Qing missed this opportunity, he didn't know when he would be able to increase his inscription talent again. After hearing Luo Qingtong's words, Song Qing didn't dare to move in an instant. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's gaze suddenly froze. The golden light enveloping Song Qing's body became more and more intense. Within the golden stone tablet, layer after layer fell off, revealing a strange inscription pattern. Chapter 2356. As the inscription pattern appeared, the life and death sword in Luo Qingtong's hand trembled. Then, with a buzz, it tried to break free from her hand and rushed toward the huge stone tablet. Luo Qingtong frowned when she felt the strange movement of the life and death sword in her hand. Life and death sword? She lowered her head and looked at the life and death sword in her hand. When she thought of the divine inscription that had been integrated into it, she narrowed her eyes and raised her hand. In an instant, the life and death sword flew out of her hand and rushed toward the huge stone tablet. Boom! As the life and death dual polarity sword approached the huge stone tablet, the strange inscription pattern engraved on the stone tablet suddenly shone brightly. A unique and majestic aura blasted toward the life and death sword from it. At this moment, the life and death sword also emitted an aura that was almost of the same origin as the sword. It's the divine inscription. Little Pig exclaimed when he felt the aura. I didn't expect the rune pattern of the divine inscription to be hidden on this stone tablet. Little Pig watched as the aura of the rune pattern entered the life and death sword. In an instant, the auras of the two were drawn to each other. The shape of a map instantly appeared in midair. In other words, the strange inscription pattern kept elongating in midair. Its aura lingered around it, elongating the scattered lines of the inscription pattern into a map. Swoosh! After the map flashed in midair, it immediately went into the life and death yin-yang sword. It's the hiding place of the divine inscription. It must be. Little Pig chuckled as he looked at the map that flashed in midair. His beady eyes twinkled as he laughed mischievously. That old man Tianmingzi is not bad. He actually knows how to use this method to hide the location of the divine inscription. And the level of the inscription tower he chose is just right. Even if Song Qing didn't summon you this time, this is the inscription tower of the 6-star domain. When you enter the extraterrestrial domain and want to learn inscriptions, you will definitely choose to come here. At that time, I will still be able to discover the location of the divine inscription. Those dregs who annihilated the Immortal Slayer Palace probably wouldn't have thought that Tianmingzi would hide such an important existence like the inscription of God in a low-level 6 inscription tower. Ah! When Little Pig's voice rang out, Luo Qingtong raised her hand to summon the life and death yin-yang sword back. She looked at Little Pig indifferently and said, "Those people didn't discover it, but that doesn't mean that no one else did." She narrowed her eyes as she spoke. If that was the case, why would Master Qin come here? He wanted the item on the 7th floor. Did he sense the existence of the god's inscription, or was there some other reason? However, regardless of why the other party had come, the whereabouts of the god's inscription on the 7th floor must not be exposed. The news that he had obtained something from the 7th floor must not be leaked. Luo Qingtong had already sentenced Master Chen to death in her mind. After she left this place, he would immediately think of a way to make his move. He wouldn't let the other party have the chance to spread the news of what had happened on the 7th floor. Chapter 2357. By the way, we have to find a way to seal that Master Chen's mouth. When the time comes, let's kill him quietly. Little Pig cupped his cheeks with his hoof and said. Although he had not recovered his strength, there were still people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City. They might not have to do it themselves. As long as they could get out of the Inscription Tower, they would become the benefactors of Heavenly Wind Inscription City. Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord and the others would be very willing to help them deal with Master Chen. After all, Master Chen was from Lengyu Inscription City. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded calmly. Then she looked at the life and death sword in her hand. After the life and death sword absorbed the light and aura emitted by the inscription pattern, the black and white luster on its body shone brightly. They meandered around like two dragons intertwining with each other. The light seemed to be fusing and resisting at the same time. They were opposing each other and suddenly fusing together. Luo Qingtong could easily feel that the life and death sword was different from before. Buzz. She raised her hand. In an instant, the black and white lights moved according to her will and intertwined in mid-air to form a gray aura. In these auras, life and death were intertwined and exchanged. Luo Qingtong looked at these auras and suddenly, her heart skipped a beat. Life and death order, reincarnation cycle? This line of words appeared in her mind out of nowhere. As soon as her voice sounded, the gray aura seemed to have received some kind of command and instantly changed. The auras rotated and formed the shape of a token. One moment it was white and the next moment it was black. The cycle of life and death was completely traceless. This is... Luo Qingtong looked at the life and death token that was formed in mid-air in surprise. The fusion and transformation of black and white. She suddenly understood what had happened to the life and death sword. The life and death chi had fused. Previously, the life and death sword in Luo Qingtong's hand was separated by the life and death chi. When she needed to use the life blade and the death blade, she also needed to change forms. But now, after the life and death dual polarity sword absorbed the strange inscriptions on the stone tablet, it immediately fused with the sword. Its two forms fused together. Life and death chi also began to entangle with each other. In the future, when Luo Qingtong used the life and death yin-yang sword again, she didn't need to switch between the two forms. She could control it at will. Not only that, Luo Qingtong struck out with her sword. In an instant, the sharp sword chi of the life and death yin-yang sword left a sharp and deep gash on the ground of the 7th floor. However, in the next second, Luo Qingtong's thoughts turned. In an instant, that deep and sharp cut was restored to its original state. The transformation between life energy and death energy was completely within Luo Qingtong's thoughts. This included the wound that Luo Qingtong had inflicted. Haha. Luo Qingtong chuckled, her voice as clear as a silver bell. The sword flower in her hand was extremely beautiful. She sheathed her sword in an instant and felt an indescribable joy in her heart. The transformation of the life and death yin-yang sword was very much in line with her wishes. With this sword, when she killed anyone in the future, she could catch them off guard and catch them off guard. Cracks continuously spread out on the huge stone tablet. Seeing this scene, Luo Qingtong's brows furrowed. She made a prompt decision and asked Little Pig, "No, this stone tablet can't be destroyed. Do you have any way to stop it?" Luo Qingtong's eyes were very serious as she watched the stone tablet violently and the huge rocks rolling down. She couldn't let anyone know that she had obtained the item on the 7th floor. If this stone tablet collapsed, wouldn't the inscription tower lose its effect? Chapter 2359. If someone from the Inscription Association came to investigate, they might even suspect her. Although Luo Qingtong had concealed her appearance and her gender, Luo Qingtong didn't know what to do. However, the people from Song City and Heavenly Wind Inscription City had nowhere to hide. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, her brows furrowed tightly. At this time Little Pig said, "It's fine. This inscription tower is a replica of the 9-layer exquisite pagoda. You just need to draw out the aura of the 9-layer exquisite pagoda. That old man Tian Mingzi won't let others know that you have the whereabouts of the god's inscription. As soon as Little Pig finished speaking, Luo Qingtong immediately drew out the aura of the 9-layer exquisite pagoda from her mind. In an instant, when the huge stone tablet came into contact with the aura of the 9-layer exquisite pagoda, it immediately stabilized. The cracks on the stone tablet disappeared. On the stone tablet, inscription patterns appeared one after another. The huge stone tablet was stabilized once again. At the same time, Luo Qingtong could faintly feel the aura of the 9-layer exquisite pagoda coming into contact with the stone tablet. The 7 floors of the inscription tower were all under her control. As long as she willed it, she could control every inch of the inscription tower's space. Feeling this, Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly lit up. As expected, that old man Tian Mingzi has already made arrangements. Little Pig laughed mischievously when he saw that the stone tablet had stabilized. With Tian Mingzi's craftiness, if the stone tablet encountered the real owner Luo Qingtong, he would naturally be able to use the aura of the 9-layer exquisite pagoda to stabilize it. After all, this inscription tower was a replica of the 9-layer exquisite pagoda. It was extremely easy to control this inscription tower. However, if Luo Qingtong didn't obtain the whereabouts of the god's inscription, then that person would be in big trouble. If the inscription tower collapsed and was destroyed, everyone would know in an instant. At that time they would be hunted down all over the world. Speaking of which, the Central Inscription Association actually had so many inscription towers. This was the specialty of the Immortal Slayer Palace back then. Without a unique method, it was impossible to activate these inscription towers. Before Little Pig entered the inscription tower, he didn't know that the inscription tower was a replica of the 9-layer exquisite pagoda. Now that it was confirmed, it knew that there must be a problem. The Central Inscription Union is probably an enemy of the Immortal Slayer Palace. To be able to drive these inscription towers, there must be a traitor among them. It said to Luo Qingtong. Traitor? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at it. Yes. The one who betrayed the Immortal Slayer Palace and caused them to be annihilated. Chapter 2360. I got it. At that time, she didn't want to inherit the inheritance of the Immortal Slayer Palace, so she didn't pay much attention to it. But now, the enemy of the Immortal Slayer Palace was her enemy. Not to mention she hated betrayal the most in her life. And the person who betrayed Tian Mingzi was obviously still deeply trusted by him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have destroyed an inscription sect like the Immortal Slayer Palace. Luo Qingtong still remembered Tian Mingzi's madness and sadness when he let her inherit the inheritance of the Immortal Slayer Palace. She could even remember the gratified and evil smile on the other party's face when he left. To force such a sincere and cheerful old man like an old urchin to such an extent. Very good, she would remember that traitor. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed coldly. Now that she had accepted the inheritance of the Immortal Slayer Palace, she would definitely face the other party. If there was a chance, she would naturally be willing to make the first move. At the same time, she would also clean up the sect for that old man Tian Mingzi. Let's leave this place first. The people outside should be waiting anxiously. We will slowly investigate the matter of the Inscription Association after we go back. Luo Qingtong said to Little Pig in her heart. She and Song Cheng had stayed here for a long time, so they didn't know what was going on outside. Thinking about how Master Chen threw Song Cheng at the entrance of the 7th floor, she had a feeling that he would do something after he went out. If he forcefully attacked the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City, it would be troublesome. Little Pig nodded and jumped into Luo Qingtong's sleeve. Its existence was too conspicuous. Luo Qingtong was still in a state of hiding her identity. He could not afford to reveal any flaws on her. Little Pig was still very reliable when it came to some serious matters. Song Cheng was also a little anxious about the situation in Heavenly Wind Inscription City. Just like Luo Qingtong, he also didn't think that the people of Lengyu Inscription City would give up. Especially since the shameless lord of Lengyu Inscription City had lost the bet with him, so it was very likely that he would take the risk. His inscription talent had increased and he felt that his inscription skills were slowly rising. One had to know that Song Cheng had been studying inscriptions for tens of years. His inscription foundation was extremely solid. If it wasn't for his talent being limited with his hard work, who knows how strong his inscription skills would be. With the help of his inscription talent, his inscription skills shot up like a rocket. Soon he was promoted to a senior inscriber. As his strength grew, so did Song Cheng's confidence. At the same time, he was even more worried about the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City. It's fine. Let's go down quietly. Don't alert anyone. Chapter 2361. Master. Song Cheng and Luo Qingtong returned to the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion. For some reason, Luo Qingtong did not allow him to enter from the main entrance. Although Song Cheng did not know the reason, his disciple always had her own ideas. Moreover, she never made a mistake, so he naturally listened to her. At this moment, he and Luo Qingtong quietly appeared outside the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's room. When they heard the sorrowful words of the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord, they could not help but rush out from the shadows and kneel in front of the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord. Master, this disciple is unfilial and has made you worry. Seeing Song Cheng appear in front of him, the City Lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City rubbed his eyes and was stunned. He took a step towards Song Cheng and then stopped as if he was afraid that it was an illusion. He did not dare to move forward. Cheng, is it you? He asked with a trembling voice. Yes, Master. I'm fine. I am still alive. That Master Chen lied to you. On the way back, Song Cheng and Luo Qingtong heard some people talking. They knew that after Master Chen came out of the tower, he told the people of Tianfeng Inscription City that he and Luo Qingtong were dead. Damn it, he was simply shameless. He was the one who lost, but he actually said that he and his disciple were dead. Song Cheng was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Now that he saw the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord so sad, he could not hide the anger in his heart. Master, don't worry, we will come out tomorrow to refute the people of Lengyu Inscription City and make them unable to take away the inscription tower. Not only that, we will make them pay the price. The people of Lengyu Inscription City lost the tower, including the Lengyu Inscription City Lord. All of them lost the bet with him. At that time, let's see how he will deal with them. I am afraid we don't have to wait until tomorrow. Luo Qingtong's face was indifferent. She looked at the surprised Song Cheng and Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and said, if I am not wrong, the people of Lengyu Inscription City will take action tonight. Luo Qingtong secretly left the inscription tower with Song Cheng was just to prepare for a rainy day. She did not want that Master Chen to know that she had safely left the inscription tower. Originally, she wanted to use tonight as a cover to head to Leng Yu's residence in Inscription City and find a way to kill him. However, such a method would definitely cause a huge commotion when the time came. Moreover, those people of Leng Yu Inscription City Lord would also be a problem. While she was on the way, Leng Yu Feng Inscription City Lord, Shi Chen, Chen's Luo Cheng, S City Inscription City Inscription City. Tianfeng Inscription City Inscription City Inscription City Inscription City Inscription City Inscription City City Inscription City City Inscription City 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 Feng Tian City Inscription City Inscription City Inscription City Inscription City Inscription City City Inscription City City Inscription City. To her, this was an excellent opportunity. When Luo Qingtong spoke in a certain courtyard in Tianfeng Inscription City, a few powerful men in black with heavy auras knelt on the ground and reported to a man on the couch. Young Master, we have investigated clearly. Chen Meng is in Tianfeng Inscription City Inscription City. His goal seems to be the inscription tower in Tianfeng Inscription City. However, he seems to have failed and was blasted out of the inscription tower by someone. It is said that it was done by a famous inscription trash in Inscription City. Chapter 2362. A corner of clothes that was as light as silk floated in front of him. The man who was originally sitting on the couch arrived in front of him in an instant. A famous inscription pattern trash? The man's voice seemed to contain a hint of a smile. It was faint, mixed with a hint of indifference and coldness. His voice was faint and carried the warmth of spring, which made people feel very comfortable and warm when they heard it. Just by hearing this voice, one would know that the other party was definitely an elegant young master in a chaotic world. Moreover, he was bright, warm, and gentle. However, when the black-clothed man heard the man's voice, he couldn't help but tremble. Then he suddenly knelt on the ground. His back was almost parallel to the ground as he said with a trembling voice, "Young master is wise. This is indeed the case. We don't dare to fool you." Chen Meng was knocked out of the inscription tower and his body was heavily injured. We hid in the crowd and saw it clearly. We didn't hide anything. When the black-clothed man spoke, the other black-clothed men all knelt on the ground with cold sweat. They didn't dare to make a sound. Interesting. The man's voice didn't change. It was still the warm voice of spring. However, there was a lot of interest mixed within. A heaven rank inscription master ranked in the top 10 of the inscription master union, a battle spirit master, was actually defeated by a famous inscription pattern trash. He was even heavily injured and knocked out of the inscription tower. Although there was the special effect of the inscription tower, the person who injured Qin Meng might not have the same strength as him. But an inscription pattern trash? Or a famous person in this heavenly wind inscription city? The corner of the man's mouth held a faint and extremely interested smile. The sky outside shone down. The dim yellow sunset mixed with the faint mist and covered the man's body with a layer of dim yellow light. The color of the light was faint and dark. It illuminated the man's indifferent and cold face, making him look like a jade immortal. White clothes like snow, black hair like a waterfall casually tied up. His face seemed to be covered with a layer of jade light, making him look like a person carved out of jade. However, that pair of eyes was completely different from the jade-like celestial appearance on his face. Instead, they were filled with a deep darkness. Even the faint smile at the corner of his mouth exuded an indescribable aura of coldness. Get someone to keep an eye on Qin Meng and the people from Lengyu Inscription City. Yu Mingqian's voice was faint. Qin Meng wholeheartedly wanted to obtain the inscription tower in the inscription city, so he would definitely not let the matter rest. Tonight, he might attack the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City. He wanted to see exactly what he wanted to obtain from the inscription tower. There was also that useless inscription material that was blasted out of the inscription tower by Qin Meng. Songqing, right? He did not believe that the other party would be able to force Qin Meng, a heaven-rank inscription master and battle soul master, out of the inscription tower. The only explanation was that there was something fishy about the inscription tower. He thought about how Qin Meng had suddenly betrayed the Central Inscription Association for several decades. Although the Central Inscription Association had said that Qin Meng had wanted to replace the president of the Central Inscription Association but had failed, and thus had conspired to harm the president. However, Yu Mingqian always felt that this matter was not so simple. To be able to make his foster father and master so careful and care so much about it. For so many years they had never relaxed their pursuit and capture of him. He was afraid that this Qin Meng was hiding an enormous secret. Chapter 2363. When she thought of this, Yu Mingqian's eyes, which were as faint as glass, shifted slightly. The gloominess in his eyes grew even deeper. Yes. The black-clothed men replied in unison and turned to leave. During this time no one dared to even breathe loudly. While Yu Mingqian was instructing the people around her, in the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion. When the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and Song Cheng heard Luo Qingtong's words, they were shocked. Disciple, is what you said true? When Song Cheng heard Luo Qingtong's words, he instantly became anxious. If that Master Chen and the people of Lengyu Inscription City were really so shameless and came to kill the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others in the middle of the night, then it would really be troublesome. After all, that Master Chen was so strong. And that shameless Lengyu Inscription City Lord. The people of Tianfeng Inscription City were definitely not a match for them. Song Cheng would never doubt Luo Qingtong's words. In his opinion, this disciple of his had never casually joked. If she said this, then it must be true. Furthermore, before Luo Qingtong said it, he hadn't thought of it. At this moment, Luo Qingtong woke up. He immediately thought that if that Master Chen didn't have any schemes, why would he say that he would wait until tomorrow to fulfill the bet and take away the inscription tower? He was simply thinking that after killing the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others, no one would ask them to fulfill the bet. At that time, they would be able to openly take away the inscription tower and maintain their inscription strength as well as the life of the Lengyu Inscription City Lord. *CK, this is too shameless. Disciple, what should we do now? Song Cheng was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. When the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord heard Luo Qingtong's words, he immediately reacted. Previously they were too grieved. Although they knew that the people of Lengyu Inscription City wouldn't let it go so easily and fulfill the bet, they didn't expect that the people of Lengyu Inscription City might come to kill them. After all, although their strength wasn't as strong as the people of Lengyu Inscription City, once a fight broke out, wouldn't the intentions of the people of Lengyu Inscription City be revealed? However, after hearing Song Cheng's explanation of Master Chen's true strength, his heart sank. A heaven-level spirit imprint master or a battle soul master? The voice of the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord trembled. With such strength, why would the other party appear in their Heavenly Wind Inscription City and snatch the inscription tower with their people? That's not right. If that's the case, how did Luo Qingtong, Song Qing, and the others injure them and blast them out of the inscription tower? Furthermore, that Master Chen swore that Song Qing and his disciple were both dead. Thinking of this, Sky Wind Inscription City Lord immediately looked at Luo Qingtong. As for why he wasn't looking at Song Qing, that was because he knew that his disciple absolutely did not possess such ability. Then all of this was done by Luo Qingtong? When the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord looked at Luo Qingtong, the latter's face also revealed a faint smile. Then she looked at him and said, "Grandmaster, don't worry. Master and I have obtained quite a lot of opportunities in the inscription tower. It's fine if that Master Chen and the people of Lengyu Inscription City don't come. But if they really come, naturally I will make them unable to return." Chapter 2364. Previously he was too happy with the return of Song Cheng and Luo Qingtong that he didn't notice this. Now that Luo Qingtong said this, he carefully sized up Song Cheng and realized that the inscription pattern power emitted from Song Cheng's body was different. In the past, Song Cheng's body had never had any inscription power. Even when he became an inscription apprentice, the inscription power emitted from his body was no different from nothing. Seeing the inscription power emitted from Song Cheng's body, the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord was pleasantly surprised. But soon he began to worry again. But that Master Chen, he looked at Luo Qingtong. This disciple of Song Cheng who had suddenly appeared, had completely refreshed his understanding of him. To be able to blast Master Chen, a heaven-level Spirit Seal Master and Battle Spirit Master out of the Inscription Tower, he must have obtained a lot of opportunities and improved in the Inscription Tower. This was their Heavenly Wind Inscription City's fortune to be able to obtain the help of such a person. However, that Master Chen's strength was not weak, and this was not the Inscription Tower. At this moment, the inscription power emitted from Luo Qingtong's body was not strong. Against that Master Chen, would she have a chance of winning? After all, even if that Master Chen was severely injured in the inscription tower, he still had the strength of a mortal-level inscription master. After leaving the inscription tower, Luo Qingtong would probably not be a match for that Master Chen, right? Thinking of this, the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's heart was filled with worry. Luo Qingtong had already seen the worry in his heart when he spoke. However, since she could say that Master Chen would not be able to return, she was naturally confident. However, the person who would deal with Master Chen was not her, but, "Grandmaster, don't worry. Don't you have confidence in yourself?" Luo Qingtong smiled and said to the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord, "That Master Chen's strength has already been severely injured. As long as Grandmaster's strength can recover, you will definitely be able to deal with him. As for those people in Lengyu Inscription City, Master and the other uncles can deal with them. Isn't that so?" As soon as Luo Qingtong said this, the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord and Song Cheng were instantly stunned. Especially Song Cheng. He looked at Luo Qingtong and opened his mouth a few times, but he couldn't say a complete sentence. In the end, he rushed in front of Luo Qingtong and grabbed her hand excitedly. "Disciple, you're really not lying? My master's strength, his inscription power, can Luo Qingtong's words, masters, this is... S is right, S's. S right, its inscriptions, its inscription. S its inscriptions, S inscription city, in inscription. But how could it be easy to reforge this inscriptions? This was not an injury on an ordinary cultivator's body. It was something related to the inscription's essence and comprehension. It was impossible for Luo Qingtong to repair the inscriptions, like how she treated other warriors. After all, they were not of the same nature at all. In fact, those whose inscriptions had no hope of recovery. Chapter 2365. Luo Qingtong looked at the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand. The latter was not kept in her sea of consciousness but was still held in her hand. Sensing her gaze, the life and death yin-yang sword hummed softly as if it had a mind of its own. A faintly discernible gray stream of light lingered on Luo Qingtong's fingertip and then quickly dissipated into nothingness. No. Hearing Luo Qingtong ask if he didn't believe her, Song Cheng hurriedly shook his head. What a joke! Even if he didn't believe anyone, he wouldn't doubt his own disciple. Ever since the girl had met him, When had she not turned the tide? The strength and ability she had displayed were extremely powerful and mysterious. Thinking of this, Song Cheng's heart was suddenly filled with confidence and excitement. Disciple, then when will you treat my master? Song Cheng rubbed his hands, completely unaware that his actions were filled with a wretched aura. He chuckled and looked at Luo Qingtong, his heart filled with anticipation. Let's do it now. Luo Qingtong looked at his mischievous expression and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. This master of hers was probably the master who was the least like a master in this world. But it didn't matter. What Luo Qingtong valued was Song Cheng's sincerity towards her. If it was really an old-fashioned and conservative person who wanted to restrain her like a disciple, Luo Qingtong would not agree at all. In this life she was used to being unbridled and unrestrained. She could not be that kind of well-behaved and respectful person. She had her own set of rules for doing things. Master, Grandmaster, make the arrangements and come in. Master, when the time comes you will guard the door. Don't let anyone in. Luo Qingtong said to Song Cheng and the city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City. It was already late, and the sun had completely sunk behind the west mountains. Night began to fall. The people of Lengyu Inscription City and Master Chen would definitely come to attack after midnight. During this period they still had time to prepare. Luo Qingtong believed that Song Cheng and Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord would take care of everything. As for the city lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City, he was stunned the moment Luo Qingtong opened her mouth. It was only when Song Cheng agreed to make the arrangements that he suddenly regained his senses. Xieqi, who are you? He looked at Luo Qingtong with a complicated expression. How could he not know that she was not just Song Cheng's disciple? Master Qin, who had solved the crisis of Tianfeng Inscription City and severely injured that heaven-level spirit seal master and battle spiritualist. Now he was able to restore his inscription mark. How could a young man do all these things so easily? Not to mention that Luo Qingtong's face was always covered by a golden mask, covering her face. Naturally, the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord misunderstood. He thought that she was some senior expert who had specially come to help Song City. Even the fact that she was suddenly able to cultivate inscription techniques was probably because of her, right? Song Cheng said that he would use the inscription technique to find his disciple. It was probably a smokescreen to help him find this Xieqi, right? Tianfeng Inscription City Lord thought so. Luo Qingtong looked at his gaze and did not explain. It was good to let him continue to be suspicious. Master Chen's identity was probably not ordinary. Although the people of Lengyu City were strong, they might still fall into their trap. With that thought in mind, everyone stopped asking questions. As for Song Cheng and Tianfeng Inscription City Lord, after everything was arranged, they returned to their rooms. It wasn't that they didn't want to tell the truth to the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City. It was just that there were too many things involved. They couldn't possibly explain everything one by one. How much time would that waste? Anyway, when the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord regained his strength, everything would be clear. When the two of them returned to their rooms, Luo Qingtong was already seated in the room. She had just carefully studied the life and death yin-yang sword and had already figured out how to use it after it changed its form. Chapter 2367. While Luo Qingtong was restoring the strength of Tianfeng Inscription City Lord, there was also a commotion at the place where Lengyu Inscription City Lord and the others were. Very quickly, one figure after another gathered under the cover of the night. City Lord, our people are all here. A person from Lengyu Inscription City reported to Lengyu Inscription City Lord. Very good. When the time comes, we'll immediately make our move. Lengyu Inscription City Lord's voice was filled with pride. After tonight, not only would the inscription tower be his, even the lives of Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others would be his. They could only blame those people for not knowing how to appreciate favors. Wouldn't it be fine if they obediently admitted defeat and handed over the inscription tower to them? Why did they have to compete with them for a long and short bet? Now, they had angered Master Chen, that great Buddha, right? When they make their move later, those people from Tianfeng Inscription City will die without a burial ground. As Lengyu Inscription City Lord thought of this, he immediately laughed out loud. In the luxurious courtyard where Yu Mingqian and the others were staying, the black-clothed men who had been sent to keep an eye on Lengyu Inscription City Lord and the others once again knelt in front of Yu Mingqian. The man's white clothes were as cold as snow. At this moment he was twirling a chess piece and slowly grinding the pieces in front of him. He didn't even raise his head and only said indifferently, "What made you come back so quickly?" These people were ordered by him to keep an eye on Chen Meng and the others. Logically speaking, they shouldn't have returned so quickly. Unless something had happened at Lungyu Inscription City? Thinking of this, the chess piece in Yu Mingxian's hand gently landed on the jade chessboard. At this moment, the voices of the black-clothed men rang out. "Young President, those people from Lungyu Inscription City have made a move. From the looks of it, they are preparing to attack the people from Tianfeng Inscription City." And in the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion, that inscription trash called Song Cheng and his disciple Xie Qi have also returned. The group of black-clothed men reported in deep voices. That Song Cheng's inscription strength has already risen to the level of a senior inscription master. As soon as these words were spoken, Yu Mingxian's pair of glass-like eyes suddenly narrowed. The chess piece in his hand was crushed into powder by the force of his hand. Interesting. Senior inscription master? His voice was chuckling as he looked into the distance in the direction of the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's mansion. This matter is really getting more and more interesting. A famous inscription trash was actually able to's inscription master. Was? He thought of all the things he had heard about the god's inscription. The smile on his lips became even more lazy and unbridled. Let's see what is going on with that Song Cheng. Was? After all, he was just a useless disciple. What was there to pay attention to? If Song Cheng really found the whereabouts of the divine inscription, Yu Mingxian's eyes narrowed. They were like the stars and the moon, ethereal like an immortal. Chapter 2368. In the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion, the room where the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord lived was filled with a heavy aura. Wang. Luo Qingtong pulled out the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand, then looked at the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord opposite her and said, "Martial Ancestor, please summon the broken inscription mark in your body." When the latter heard this, he immediately summoned the life inscription marks that had shattered into countless light fragments in his body. The crippling of an inscription master's strength was different from the crippling of an ordinary warrior. When an ordinary warrior was crippled, their dantian would be destroyed, and all the strength in their body would disappear. His cultivation base had also completely regressed. In the end, they would become an ordinary person. But an inscription master was not like this. The inscription master's inscription strength was crippled, but he could no longer use his strength to draw inscription patterns. But his inscription comprehension and strength were still there. It was just that he could no longer use them. There was a fundamental difference between the crippling of a warrior. And at this moment, the inscription mark in the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's body was summoned. Luo Qingtong immediately saw the dense broken marks on it. These marks were densely covered on the inscription mark of the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord, completely covering his inscription mark. It could be seen how determined he was when he self-destructed his inscription mark. And with the inscription mark broken to such an extent, the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord could no longer use any inscription power. He was even worse than an ordinary inscription master apprentice. Even if he had a strong inscription technique comprehension and ability, he would not be able to use it. Luo Qingtong looked at the broken inscription mark that was barely pieced together. She narrowed her eyes, then nodded to the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and said, "Martial Ancestor, bear with it. No matter what I do to you later, don't dodge." Okay. Although the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord did not know what Luo Qingtong wanted to do to him, but just based on the fact that the other party saved the Tianfeng Inscription City's fate and protected the inscription tower, he had absolute trust in the other party. Moreover, there was nothing on him that was worthy of the other party's schemes. To be able to defeat an expert like Master Chen and destroy his plot to obtain the inscription tower, the young man's strength and identity were definitely extraordinary. He trusted Luo Qingtong completely. Even if he hadn't even seen the other party's face. All right. Luo Qingtong heard his voice and nodded slightly. Her smooth chin, which was revealed under the mask, nodded slightly. Then she raised her hand and with a schwa sound, a sword light shot towards the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord. What? Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord didn't expect Luo Qingtong to tell him to endure and not dodge, but to actually attack with a sword. Looking at the sword light that was flashing with a sharp aura, the city lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City clenched his teeth. In the end, he closed his eyes and allowed the sword light to sweep over. Boom. That sword light directly slashed the city lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City lord's body. Even Song Cheng, who was guarding the door to prevent anyone from entering, felt his heart skip a beat when he saw this scene. Oh my God, no wonder his disciple asked him to guard the door and not let anyone come near. If his fellow disciples saw this scene, what would happen? Chapter 2369. And when Luo Qingtong's sword light struck the city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City, boom. The inscription mark that appeared above his head that was summoned shattered in an instant. Countless gray auras coiled around the cracks on the shattered life inscription mark, shattering the life inscription mark that had just been summoned by Tianfeng City Lord and pieced back together. Just as the City Lord of Tianfeng Inscription City's face turned incomparably pale, and he couldn't help but clench his teeth so hard that they almost shattered. Boom. Reversal of life and death. With a clear shout from Luo Qingtong, in an instant, the gray aura that was wrapped around the wound of the inscription mark and its broken death aura and decadent aura instantly turned into the shape of a small token. Life and death token, reversal of yin and yang. Repair. Under the control of Luo Qingtong's mind, the death aura and decadent aura that were originally filled with the broken inscription mark were all turned into vitality under the activation of Luo Qingtong's sword light. The traces on the broken inscription marks had all been erased. 1 bolt, 2 bolts, 3 bolts, 4 bolts, countless tiny cracks were all eliminated by Luo Qingtong's reversal of life and death, reversal of yin and yang. Just like the sword that Luo Qingtong had experimented with in the inscription tower, it was completely wiped out. There was no longer a trace of it. Destruction and establishment. Luo Qingtong's sword strike caused the aura of the life and death duality sword to completely combine with the aura of the broken inscription mark in the city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City. Then she reversed the life and death aura and broke yin and yang. In an instant, the broken inscription mark was healed. Boom. An outstanding and huge aura was emitted from the city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City. Before his inscription mark was broken, it was only in its embryonic form. Before it could completely condense, it was shattered by his self-destruction. Now Luo Qingtong had healed the broken inscription mark in his body. In just an instant, the aura of the inscription mark in his body had increased. In this destruction and establishment, it was instantly perfected. The inscription mark was completely condensed. Boom boom boom. The inscription power in the city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City was rioting. In just an instant, countless inscription patterns floated up according to his thoughts and hovered around his body. Master. Seeing this scene, Song Cheng's heart was filled with indescribable joy. Success. Luo Qingtong, she really did it. His master's inscription strength had completely recovered. Not only so, he had even reached a whole new level, becoming a spirit seal master. The city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City was overjoyed. He didn't expect that he would be able to recover one day after shattering his innate inscription brand. Not only that, his strength had increased his master's strength. Just as he Qingtong's Luo Qingtong City, Qingtong's master Tianfeng Inscription City. Those people from Lengyu Inscription City have arrived, right? The city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City, who had recovered his inscription strength, had a cold expression on his face. He was not a good person. He would naturally do his best to treat his disciples and the citizens of the city. However, he would not show any mercy to the enemies who came to invade his territory. Chapter 2370. Otherwise, when he was dealing with Master Chen in the past, he wouldn't have risked detonating his life inscription imprint to stop him. Unfortunately, at that time he didn't know Master Chen's true strength, nor did he know that the other party was hiding something. Otherwise, he would have taken an even more foolproof move. At this moment, when he heard the clamor outside mixed with the sounds of fighting, his figure immediately stood up with a whoosh. Let's go, Chinger. Let's go out and let those people from Lengyu Inscription City see how laughable their actions tonight are. The Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord strode out. At this time it was already midnight outside, and the stars were shining brightly. The City Lord and the others had attacked according to plan. They thought that the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's mansion would definitely be caught off guard as they had expected. At that time, they would be able to kill all of the defenseless people of the Heavenly Wind Inscription City one by one. On the second day, who would have the qualifications to ask them to fulfill their bet? So what if others suspected that the incident with the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord and the others was related to them? With Master Chin here, he could guarantee that no one would be able to escape alive. At that time, without any evidence, who would be able to do anything to them? Lengyu Inscription City Lord's face was filled with pride as he led a group of people from Lengyu Inscription City to sneak into the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's mansion and prepare to make a move. However, none of them would have thought that the originally defenseless Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's mansion had actually already set up an inescapable net, just waiting for them to barge in. Just as they sneaked into the inner courtyard of the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord, they saw that the surroundings were instantly brightly lit. Then, wave after wave of experts from the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's mansion surged out from the shadows and surrounded them. People of Lengyu Inscription City, you are indeed shameless. Tonight you actually came to launch a sneak attack. After the inscriptionists in the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's mansion received the warning and arrangements from the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord in Song City, they had been hiding in the shadows, waiting for the people of Lengyu Inscription City to appear. He didn't expect them to really come. This group of shameless and insidious people. When the people from the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's mansion were glaring at Lengyu Inscription City Lord and the others, the latter felt a chill in their hearts. They did not know how their whereabouts were exposed so quickly. But so what if he was exposed? At most, it would be a little troublesome and take a little longer to kill. None of these people today should even think about escaping. Lengyu Inscription City Lord thought and sneered at the inscription masters of Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion. Humph, I didn't expect you to find out. You people from the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's mansion are not stupid. But so what? Today all of you will die here. Attack. With a wave of his hand, Lengyu Inscription City Lord's men brandished their weapons and charged towards Tianfeng Inscription City Lord mansion. The hearts of the people from the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's mansion turned cold as they charged towards the people from Lengyu Inscription City. Bang bang bang. The sound of weapons clashing and inscription patterns clashing could be heard all around. The battle between inscriptionists was sometimes even more tragic than the battle between a normal martial artist and a spirit practitioner. Chapter 2371. This was because inscriptionists had a variety of combat methods. Relying on inscription techniques, they could give themselves and the others all kinds of blessings and assistance. This was something that ordinary martial artists and soul cultivators did not have, or even lacked. Unless it was a martial artist and soul cultivator whose strength far surpassed the group of inscriptionists. Otherwise, anyone who interfered in their battle would die easily. Under the blockade of Lengyu Inscription City Lord and the others, the commotion at the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion was completely covered up. No one outside knew that there was a massacre going on in the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion. Bang bang bang. The group of people from Tianfeng Inscription City had been severely injured in the inscription tower. Because of the grief in their hearts, they had not recovered much. On the other hand, Lengyu Inscription City Lord and the others had already decided to kill and clean up the people from the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion tonight. Not only that, they had a great Buddha like Master Chin among them. Although it was difficult for him to recover from his own injuries, it was easy for him to heal the injuries of the inscriptionists from Lengyu Inscription City. Not only that, the many inscription formations in the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion were useless against him. He easily broke through the inscription mechanisms and formations that the inscriptionists of the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion relied on. He stood coldly to the side and watched as the people of Lengyu Inscription City fought with the people of Tianfeng Inscription City. Because of Master Chen's existence, even if the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City were waiting for him and had all sorts of mechanisms and formations to rely on, they still fell into a disadvantageous position against City Lord Lengyu and the others. Bang! A high-level inscriptionist of Tianfeng Inscription City had his inscription defense broken by Lengyu Inscription City Lord. In the next second he was heavily smashed to the ground. Humph! You overestimate yourself. So what if you see through our tracks? You people of Tianfeng Inscription City can only wait for death. Lengyu Inscription City Lord laughed loudly. If you know what's good for you, then immediately hand over that old man, Tianfeng Inscription City Lord, kill him with your own hands and deliver his head. If that's the case, I might give you a quick death. His laughter spread in the air. The faces of the people from Inscription City paled. They spat at him and said coldly, "You're dreaming. Lu Jitong, a treacherous villain like you wants to take our master's head? Where's your face? Even if you don't mind that your hands are dirty, we do mind that you have sullied our master." The people from Heavenly Wind Inscription City were forced back by the people from Lengyu Inscription City, but they didn't relent in the slightest. Their faces were pale as they looked at Master Qin, who had yet to make a move. They had never expected him to be so powerful. It was also because his master's inscription skills had been crippled. Otherwise, with the various formations and mechanisms in the City Lord's mansion, they definitely wouldn't be in such a sorry state. This was because the effects of the mechanisms and formations controlled by different levels of strength were absolutely different. Everyone was filled with grief and indignation. Lengyu Wen City Lord was also angered by their words. He looked at them with a cold smile and said, "All right." Chapter 2372. Since that's the case, I'll kill all of you first, then drag that old man out and kill him. At that time, I'll let all of you go to hell and have a good master and disciple relationship. As Lengyu Inscription City Lord spoke, he immediately raised his hand and an inscription pattern instantly formed in his hand. Then he rushed towards the senior inscription master of Tianfeng Inscription City, who was knocked to the ground by him. At this moment, boom! In an instant, a figure rushed out from the depths of the inner court and blocked in front of the senior inscriptionist. Bang! An inscription pattern in his hand instantly shot out from his hand and collided with the inscription pattern that Lengyu Inscription City Lord had shot out. In an instant, the two inscription patterns faced each other in mid-air. With a bang, the inscription pattern instantly shattered the inscription pattern that Lengyu Inscription City Lord had shot out with an extremely tyrannical and terrifying speed. Not only that, the inscription pattern continued to blast towards Lengyu Inscription City Lord with an extremely tyrannical aura and power. Lengyu Inscription City Lord was waiting to kill the senior inscription master of Tianfeng Inscription City. How could he have thought that a person would suddenly rush out and not only block his attack, but also completely shatter his attack and blast it towards him? Lengyu Inscription City Lord hurriedly wanted to dodge, but this unforeseen event happened too quickly and too suddenly. He didn't even have time to react, and just as he moved his body, he was heavily struck by the inscription pattern. With a bang, he instantly let out a miserable cry and was sent tumbling back a few times by the terrifying power contained within. His entire aura was dispirited, and the power of the inscription pattern that he summoned also instantly dropped by who knows how many levels. "You?" He looked at the figure that appeared in front of him in shock and anger, and then his eyes widened. "Zhang, you old man. It's you?" Lengyu Inscription City Lord's face was filled with disbelief. How could it be Tianfeng Inscription City Lord, this old man? Didn't his natal inscription mark shatter when he was fighting for the inscription tower with Master Qin? How could he still use the power of inscriptions? Not only that, his inscription technique seemed to have improved. The power that just blasted out, Spirit Seal Master. You're a Spirit Seal Master? You old man. Lengyu Inscription City Lord thought as he gritted his teeth and shouted. Tianfeng Inscription City Lord, this old man actually rose to the level of a Spirit Seal Master. Wasn't this old man stuck at this level and unable to break through for many years? How did he break through all of a sudden? Also, what was going on with his shattered life inscription mark? Could it be that he's pretending to be a cripple? But that's not right. If this old man hadn't been crippled, how could he have allowed them to succeed in the inscription tower? One had to know that if it wasn't for Song Cheng and his disciple, they wouldn't be in such a situation and would have obtained the inscription tower long ago. Why would they sneak into the night to ambush them? What the hell is this old man doing? Chapter 2373. This is impossible. The other party's strength was crippled with his own eyes. The natal inscription mark self-destructed, and his inscription strength could no longer be used. What was going on? How could the other party's inscription strength recover? Not only that, but it had also risen to the level of a spirit print master. Master Chen's face was solemn. All of this had already exceeded his understanding. And in the dark, there was a cold light that flashed fiercely. The inscription strength has recovered? Yu Mingqian looked at the scene in front of him, his figure hidden in the dark. On that fairy-like face, his eyes narrowed slightly. if he remembered correctly. This Tianfeng inscription city lord had already self-destructed his natal inscription mark, right? He could still recover his strength? Yu Mingqian raised his eyebrows slightly. It seemed that his trip to Tianfeng inscription city to capture Qin Meng was not in vain. Just as his eyebrows were slightly raised in the depths of the inner courtyard, Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng's figures appeared in front of everyone. Humph, you didn't expect this, right? Lu Zhidong. You shameless fellows, taking advantage of my master's loss of strength, you actually came to attack our Tianfeng inscription city lord mansion. Today we will make you unable to return. Song Cheng's head was held high, and his eyes were filled with coldness as he looked at Leng Yu inscription city lord and the others. When Leng Yu inscription city lord and the others saw him and Luo Qingtong, they immediately exclaimed, "You're actually not dead." Leng Yu inscription city lord looked at Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng with wide eyes, and his heart was in a mess. Didn't Master Qin say that they were already dead? What was going on? He looked at Master Qin, who was not far away, anxiously. The latter was also shocked by the appearance of Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng. So it's you? He looked coldly in the direction of Luo Qingtong. You're actually not dead. Was it you? Did you get the thing there? Master Chen's voice was almost crazy. He had clearly thrown Song Cheng to the entrance of the 7th floor. When he was blasted away by the inscription tower, he saw Luo Qingtong rushing over. It was impossible that the two of them were still alive. Since they were still alive, it meant that they had obtained the item on the 7th floor. Most importantly, Luo Qingtong should have gotten it. Bisiechi. He looked coldly at Luo Qingtong. His eyes were filled with coldness and fanaticism. The other party had obtained something from the 7th floor. What did that mean? That meant that even if he couldn't obtain the inscription tower, he would still be able to obtain the items on the 7th floor. As long as he could kill this young man in front of him. Ah. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. There's no door to hell, but you've barged in. Do you think that old man, Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord, can deal with me just because he has recovered his strength? Master Chen's eyes were cold and filled with killing intent as he looked at Luo Qingtong and the others. His tongue was like a poisonous snake's tongue as he licked his lips. Then he sneered at Luo Qingtong and the others and said, "Today, I'll show you what a real heavenly spiritual seal master and battle spirit master is like. Even if my strength has been severely damaged and I'm only at the level of a mortal spiritual seal master, I'm not someone that can be defeated by a random spiritual seal master. Not to mention that this person is just a newly promoted spiritual seal master." Master Chen's voice was so cold that it seemed to come from hell. He looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others and laughed strangely. Chapter 2374. Boom. Countless inscription patterns appeared around his body in an instant. Each of these inscription patterns was brimming with an incomparably majestic aura. It was far from what an ordinary high-level inscription master could compare to. Spirit Seal Master. Not only that, he was also an extremely strong human-level Spirit Seal Master. And this was because Master Chen had been tricked by Luo Qingtong in the inscription tower. He had smashed into the light at the entrance to the 7th floor and was injured instead. Otherwise, at this moment, the power of a heaven-level Spirit Seal Master was apparent. In an instant, he could control all the inscription formations and mechanisms in the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion. At the same time, once that vast and majestic power was released, it would be able to intimidate everyone, including the City Lord of Tianfeng Inscription City, to the point of lying down. However, at this moment, his strength had been greatly reduced. His life inscription mark had been damaged, and he could only release strength comparable to a human-level Spirit Seal Master. However, even so, it was enough to take care of these people from Tianfeng Inscription City. As Master Chen thought about this, his expression became indescribably cold. With a boom, he attacked Luo Qingtong. When the City Lord of Tianfeng Inscription City saw this scene, his face turned cold as he flicked his sleeve and went forward to meet him. "Cheng, protect your disciple," the City Lord of Tianfeng Inscription City said in a deep voice. Although he didn't know why Master Chen wanted to kill Luo Qingtong. However, when he thought about what the other party had said in his madness, it was obvious that this had something to do with Luo Qingtong and the others safely walking out of the inscription tower. It was very likely that the thing that Master Chen was after was on Luo Qingtong. In fact, the reason why Song Cheng's inscription talent was able to grow from nothing was also because of Luo Qingtong. And the reason why his inscription strength could recover was also because of this, right? Since that was the case, then he couldn't let Master Qin hurt Luo Qingtong. Bang! The inscription power of both sides collided. The city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City was also a spirit seal master, and the inscription power surrounding his body was not weaker than Master Chen's. However, between the heaven-level inscription master and the human-level inscription master, there was still a large amount of inscription comprehension and the ability to dissolve experience. Although Master Chen was unable to reveal the strength of a heaven-level spirit seal master, his understanding of inscription techniques was far above that of the city lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription. The inscription patterns around him kept spinning and actually managed to disperse most of the power of the inscription patterns that the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord sent over. With this series of actions, the power of the inscription pattern unleashed by the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord instantly fell into a disadvantageous position. Haha. I've said it before, there's a huge difference between a real heaven-level spiritual print master and a human-level spiritual print master. Not to mention that you have just become a spirit print master. Master Chen's voice was full of arrogance. Even if his strength had dropped to the level of a mortal-level spirit print master, Tianfeng Inscription City Lord, who was also a mortal-level spirit print master, would not be able to stop him. He was determined to get the item on Xie. Speaking of which, he had to thank the other party for overestimating himself and thinking too highly of himself. Did he think that just because he obtained that item from the inscription tower, he would be able to rely on the recovered strength of the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord to deal with him? What a joke. As long as he stood here, the people of the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's mansion would all die. Chapter 2375. Xie, come over here obediently. Seeing Master Chen rushing towards Luo Qingtong with his claws like hooks, Song Cheng's face instantly turned gloomy. Damn it, how can this bastard Chen be so strong? He had been seriously injured and his strength had fallen to the level of a human-level spirit seal master, but he was still able to unleash such a strong power. His master, the city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City, had already far surpassed the strength and comprehension of an ordinary spirit seal master. Long before he had completely condensed the inscription mark, the city lord's strength was already about the same as an ordinary spirit seal master. Now that his strength had increased, almost no one among the ordinary human-level spirit seal masters was his match. But now he was easily blasted away by Master Chen. The other party's strength was actually so strong. It wasn't until now that Song Qing realized what every higher level of inscription master meant to inscriptionists like him. At the same level of inscription master, his master, the city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City, was actually unable to do anything to Master Chen. When Leng Yu Inscription City Lord saw this scene, he was overjoyed. Haha, people of Tianfeng Inscription City, how can trash like you be a match for Master Chen? He said proudly, Master Chen is a heaven-level spirit seal master. Even if his strength has fallen to the level of a human-level spirit seal master, he is still not someone you can compare to. Seeing that the city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City had been blasted away and that the strongest person in the group could not stop Master Chen, Leng Yu Inscription City Lord's face was filled with pride. Even if the people of Tianfeng Inscription City were waiting for him, so what if the city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City had recovered his strength? In the end he could only die in their hands. Moreover, he could only die with his eyes wide open and in despair. Ah! His laughter was sharp. As for Master Chen, he had already rushed in front of Luo Qingtong and Song Chen. The latter gritted his teeth and rushed forward. Disciple, run! Song Qing shouted loudly. He knew that with Luo Qingtong's ability she would definitely be able to escape. As long as she didn't care about them, she would definitely be able to do it. Luo Qingtong's innate talent was strong and her inscription technique was top-notch. In the future, when she grew up, her strength would definitely be limitless. Not to mention that the young girl had obtained the item from the 7th level of the inscription tower. Even though he didn't know what was on the 7th floor of the inscription tower, he didn't know what it was. But looking at the increase in his inscription talent and the recovery of his master's inscription skills, Song Qing knew that this thing was definitely not ordinary. As long as Luo Qingtong could escape, she would definitely avenge them in the future. Master Chen wouldn't be able to hurt his precious disciple. As Song Qing rushed toward Master Chen, the latter snorted and shouted, "You overestimate yourself. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Master Qin didn't care about the strength of the high-level inscriptionists in Song City. Even the city lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City, who had reached the level of a spirit seal master, could not do anything to him, let alone Song Qing, who was only a high-level inscription master. He was only here to die. As for how the other party's inscription talent increased, he also knew. It must be because of the item on the 7th level that Luo Qingtong had obtained. Thinking of this, an extremely greedy expression appeared on Master Chen's face. Chapter 2376. Go to hell. As he spoke, he raised his hand and sent an inscription pattern flying towards Song Cheng. Looking at the vast and majestic power, Song Cheng didn't dodge at all and directly rushed forward. UB********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Alright, master, come back. You don't have to risk your life just because of them. As these words were spoken, in an instant, boom boom boom. Waves of violent and vast power instantly attacked from all directions of the heavenly wind inscription City Lord's mansion. It was the inscription arrays and mechanisms in the Tianfeng City Lord mansion that had been previously controlled by Master Qin. All of them were activated. Luo Qingtong stood in the inner courtyard of the Tianfeng City Lord mansion and looked at Master Chen with an extremely evil and cold gaze. Bang! She waved her hand fiercely. In the next second, the flickering jade color in the young man's sleeves waved and spread out into a fan shape in midair, swaying gently in front of Luo Qingtong. The inscription array formations and mechanisms of the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord Mansion, which had been seen through by Luo Qingtong and controlled by her eye technique, instantly flew towards Master Chen, who was about to attack Song City. Boom boom boom. The violent and unrestrained power instantly collided with the power of the inscription pattern that Master Chen had blasted out. Waves of extremely terrifying energy surged out from the center of the collision, causing Song Cheng and Master Chen to retreat violently. Master Chen suddenly clutched his chest and raised his head to spit out a mouthful of blood. He looked at Luo Qingtong with a shocked expression and unstable breathing. His face was full of disbelief. How is this possible? I have clearly controlled the arrays and mechanisms in the City Lord Mansion. How can you possibly use them? Master Chen's face was filled with shock and horror. He had accepted that Luo Qingtong had obtained the item on the 7th floor. However, her inscription skills were obviously inferior to his. In the inscription tower, she had relied on the special effects of the inscription tower to defeat him. Now that they were outside the inscription tower, her strength was obviously inferior to his. How could she control the inscription arrays and mechanisms in the City Lord Mansion? One had to know that all of this required inscription skills to control. Master Chen's voice was hysterical, but Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. The jade fan in her hand lightly brushed the scattered hair on her forehead, making her look like a fairy. The smile that appeared at the corner of her lips was abnormally evil and charming. How is it impossible? Only those who are stronger than you can control these arrays and mechanisms. Unfortunately, I don't need it. Luo Qingtong's voice was light. Even though he had purposely lowered his voice a little, causing his voice to have the hoarseness of a youth, it was still as cold as a spring. It sounded like ice and jade colliding with each other, extremely pleasant to the ears and clear to the extreme. Bang! As Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, she waved her sleeve again. Boom boom boom. Under the wave of Luo Qingtong's sleeves, waves of violent and terrifying power once again blasted towards Master Chen. Just now, she had been standing there motionlessly, not because she was afraid of Master Chen, but because she was using her eye technique to break the other party's control. Now, the inscription arrays and mechanisms in the City Lord Mansion were all controlled by Luo Qingtong. Chapter 2377. Boom boom boom. The sound that came from the air was as strong as a drum. Everyone in Tianfeng Inscription City was awakened by the sound that came from the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion. What's going on? It's the City Lord's mansion. This voice came from the City Lord's mansion. Not good, the City Lord's mansion is under attack. Gather, everyone gather. In the Tianfeng Inscription City, everyone who heard the vast voice in the air started to move. The entire Tianfeng Inscription City was brightly lit. When these voices rang out, the complexion of Lengyu City Lord and the others in the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's mansion also abruptly turned pale. Not good, the matter has been exposed. Everyone was very anxious in their hearts. The reason why they dared to attack the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others was because Master Chen was here to seal off the movements in the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion. After they killed all the people in the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's group, they were afraid that the other people in the Tianfeng Inscription City would notice the situation here. However, at this moment, under the control of Luo Qingtong, the commotion in the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion was instantly spread out. At that time, no matter how strong they were, they wouldn't be able to fight against an entire city. Not to mention, there was still the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord and the others who hadn't suffered any heavy injuries yet. Master Chen, the matter has been exposed. Let's leave quickly. Leng Yu and the others hurriedly called out to Master Chen. Idiot! What's the use of you leaving now? Master Chen's gaze was vicious as he looked at the formation and mechanism power of the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion that was rushing towards him. His voice was extremely cold. When tomorrow comes, won't you all still be in big trouble? And he would never give up on the item in Luo Qingtong's hands. After today, who knew where this young man named Xie Qi would run off to? She had to die here today and let him obtain the treasure from the 7th level of the inscription tower. The more powerful Luo Qingtong was, the more unwilling Master Chen was to let her go. Especially at this moment, the power that Luo Qingtong revealed to be able to control the inscription formation in the City Lord's mansion clearly didn't come from the thing hidden on the 7th floor of the inscription tower. There were other secrets hidden in the other party's body. Thinking of this, Master Chen's heart was boiling with greed. In the darkness, Yu Mingxian's eyes flashed. His glass-like eyes stared at Luo Qingtong. The dark light in his eyes was so deep that it suppressed the star-like light on the surface of his eyes. Xie Qi, Song Cheng's disciple? He raised his eyebrows slightly. Originally, he thought that he was just a small pawn that he didn't need to pay attention to. However, he didn't expect the other party to give him a surprise. He was actually able to seize control of the inscription mechanism and formation in the City Lord's mansion from Chen Meng's hands. Interesting. Yu Mingxian's eyes, which were hidden in the dark, were filled with interest. The corner of his lips curled up slightly as he continued to look at the scene in the City Lord's mansion. The black-clothed man at the side asked him if he should make a move, but he directly suppressed it. Let's continue watching. It was impossible for Chen Meng to only have this little ability. He wanted to see how that youth called Xie Qi would deal with it. Chapter 2378. Yu Mingxian's eyes flashed and fixed on Luo Qingtong. At this moment, in the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion, Master Chen directly made his move after saying those words to the people of Lengyu Inscription City. Bang! The inscription power around him surged, and with a boom, he summoned an inscription pattern in front of him that emitted an endless fierce aura. Battle Inscription Pattern. Seeing this scene, the City Lord of Tianfeng Inscription City, who was supported by everyone, suddenly let out a cry of surprise. The people of the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord's mansion behind him also cried out in alarm and turned pale. Battle Inscription Mark. They had all forgotten that this Master Chen was also a battle spirit master. The group of people originally thought that Luo Qingtong was in control of the situation and were rejoicing, but their mood instantly tightened. Xie Qi. The City Lord of Tianfeng Inscription City wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and was about to charge forward again. Song Cheng, who was not far away from him, did the same. However, before they could even move, a voice rang out. Boom! The sword chi condensed from the battle inscription pattern in Master Chen's hand instantly cut through the power of the inscription formations and mechanisms that came from all directions. Ah, brat. Do you think you can stop me like this? Master Chen's lips curled into a bloodthirsty and ruthless smile. The injuries on his body were extremely serious. If he could not use the battle inscription mark, he would not use it. In the end, he was forced to use it by Luo Qingtong. At this moment, even if his injuries were to worsen, he was going to kill this monstrous young man. Seize all the opportunities and benefits in his hands. Go to hell. He waved his hand, and in an instant, countless sword chi formed by the battle inscription mark rushed towards Luo Qingtong like locusts and a rain of arrows. Along the way, no matter what inscription formation or mechanism it encountered, it was all shattered. The rain of sword chi rushed towards Luo Qingtong with an extremely powerful and murderous aura. Disciple. Seeing this scene, Song Cheng's face was filled with an indescribable rage. He desperately rushed in the direction of Luo Qingtong. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't catch up. The power of Master Chen's battle inscription patterns was simply too fast. Not to mention Song City, even Heavenly Wind Engraving City Lord could barely catch up. However, even if he made it in time, there was no way he could stop Master Chen's attack. The battle inscription mark had an absolute advantage over any inscription pattern above the Spirit Print Master level. Unless the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord immediately became a Heavenly level Spirit Seal Master, he would be able to suppress this battle inscription with power several times stronger than Master Chen's. Otherwise, he and Luo Qingtong wouldn't be able to escape. But how was that possible? His strength had just reached the level of Spirit Print Master, and he hadn't even consolidated it yet. How could he possibly make another breakthrough? Even if he tried to force it, it would be too late. Master Qin was a Heavenly level Spirit Seal Master. If he didn't have a solid foundation as a Heavenly level Spirit Seal Master, he wouldn't be able to resist the battle inscription mark he sent out. No matter how he thought about it, it was a sure death situation. Seeing that Master Chen's attack was about to hit Luo Qingtong and Heavenly Wind Engraving City Lord, the group of people from Heavenly Wind Engraving City Lord Mansion had a sorrowful expression on their faces. Master Xieqi. Chapter 2379. Good. After killing them, we'll immediately wash the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion with blood and leave immediately. Master Qin is mighty. The group of people from Lengyu Inscription City clamored. Looking at the people from Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion, their hearts were filled with killing intent. Once Xie Qi and the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord died, wouldn't they be able to wreak havoc in the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion? In less than a moment, they would be able to kill all the people from the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion. At that time, even if the other people from Tianfeng Inscription City came, they wouldn't be able to catch up. Thinking of this, the group of people from Lengyu Inscription City were extremely pleased. At this moment, Luo Qingtong looked at the rain of sword energy that was rushing towards her and the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord. She said to the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord, "Ancestor, do you believe me?" Her voice was indifferent, as if she wasn't facing a situation of certain death. At this moment, the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord was facing the rain of sword chi. He was thinking of a way to block the rain of sword chi at lightning speed. However, no matter how he thought, even if he detonated his life inscription mark again, the chances of him being able to save Luo Qingtong were less than 50%. The battle inscription mark was simply too terrifying. However, at this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, causing him to be stunned. He looked at the youth in front of him who had an indifferent expression and didn't have the slightest trace of panic. He didn't know why, but his heart was inexplicably certain. "I believe. Of course I believe," he said without hesitation. Luo Qingtong had helped him recover his inscription strength, and now she was helping their Tianfeng Inscription City block the disaster. If he still couldn't wholeheartedly trust Luo Qingtong, then what else could be worthy of his trust? "Alright, Ancestor, release your mind and even the defense of your soul," Luo Qingtong said to the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord. The latter was only slightly stunned before immediately doing as he was told. Boom. Luo Qingtong's hand directly pressed on the back of the Tianfeng Inscription City Lord. Because the latter had rushed over in a hurry and stood in front of her, Luo Qingtong's palm landed squarely on his chest. At the same time, Luo Qingtong lowered her head. In an instant, her eyes were as red as blood. Countless streaks of bloody light swept across the sky, dyeing the whites of Luo Qingtong's eyes and eyeballs crimson like blood. In an instant, a connection was established between Luo Qingtong and the City Lord of Sky Wind Inscription City. Sharing. Paragon Eye Technique sharing. Everything about Luo Qingtong could be shared with the person she chose. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with a bloody light, and she directly shared the battle inscription pattern on the 6th floor with the City Lord of Tianfeng Inscription City. That battle inscription mark had been shattered by the light at the entrance of the 7th level. It was impossible for Luo Qingtong to use it again. But the City Lord of Tianfeng Inscription City was different. He was a true Spirit Seal Master and at the same time, an expert of the human martial realm. As long as Luo Qingtong passed the method of copying the battle inscription mark in her mind to him, he would be able to copy it in an instant. This was originally an ability that belonged to Luo Qingtong. But at this moment she shared this ability with the city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City. Chapter 2380. Boom. The moment Luo Qingtong established a connection with the city lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City. In an instant, the city lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City felt as if there was something extra in his mind. His face was filled with shock, and before he could even react, his hand had already started to draw in the air. Lines of inscription patterns instantly appeared in front of him. Roar! As the inscription pattern under the city lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City took shape. In an instant, the illusory figures of demonic beasts rushed out from the inscription pattern he had drawn. Battle Inscription Mark. What the city lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City had drawn was also a battle inscription mark. Bang! The rain of sword chi that was rushing towards Luo Qingtong instantly collided with the illusory figures of the demonic beasts that had jumped out in front of the city lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City. In an instant, countless demonic beasts roared, accompanied by the sound of the sword chi rain curtain breaking, resounded loudly. Bang bang bang. Countless flying sword locusts collided and broke in front of everyone, or were bitten and scratched by the demonic beasts that were formed from the sword locusts. In the blink of an eye, the curtain of sharp swords was shattered and disappeared in the air. This. When Leng Yu Inscription City Lord and the rest of the people from Tianfeng Inscription City Lord's mansion saw this scene, they immediately widened their eyes. The city lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City and the others were shocked, but the people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City were overjoyed. Battle Inscription Mark. Master also knows how to inscribe Battle Inscription Mark. Oh my god. Didn't Master just finish his advancement? How could he know how to inscribe Battle Inscription Mark? The people of Heavenly Wind Inscription City were pleasantly surprised. They had never thought that the city lord of Heavenly Wind Inscription City, who had just advanced to Spirit Seal Master, would actually be able to inscribe Battle Inscription Mark at the beginning of his advancement. After all, that was something that required a long period of practice and comprehension to be able to inscribe. In this world, those who had advanced to the Spirit Seal Master realm might be able to learn the Battle Inscription Mark. However, not everyone was able to successfully comprehend it. Not to mention, the power of the battle inscription that the city lord of Tianfeng Inscription City used was not inferior to Master Qin at all. It was as if it had been tempered thousands of times. This was too shocking. As for Leng Yuwen and the others, their mouths were already wide open, not knowing what to say. How is this possible? How is this possible? Cold Jade Inscription City Lord muttered to himself. He couldn't believe what was happening in front of him. To him, the fact that the Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord was able to inscribe battle inscription patterns was even more unacceptable to him than the fact that Heavenly Wind Inscription City Lord had recovered his strength and become a Spirit Seal Master. How could this be? Master Qin was a heaven-level Spirit Seal Master and an expert of the human martial arts realm, so he was able to inscribe battle inscriptions. Who was that old man of Tianfeng Inscription City Lord? He could also inscribe battle inscriptions. He didn't believe it. He couldn't believe it no matter what. However, the truth was right in front of his eyes. When the city lord of Leng Yuwen saw the sword chi that Master Qin had sent out shattering one by one, his vision turned black. He didn't know what to say. As for Master Qin, when he saw the demonic beast mark that had broken through his rain of sword chi, his face twitched violently. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.